Here's what happened at the Grand Prix of Turkey in Istanbul. It was a great start from Zak Osborne on the UTAG Yamaha on the blue number 338 as he fired into the whole shot ahead of Gauthier Paulin's Kawasaki in second. And before long, Gauthier Paulin was up front and leading this one. Sean Simpson had a good start but was riding with a shoulder injury and soon found himself going from third position and charging backwards down the pack. Xavier Boug was having a good ride on the Tekka Europe Suzuki. He was the next rider to force his way past the fading Simpson. Stephen Frossard making amends for what happened in Bulgaria 1 week ago. He picked himself up off the deck after this crash and he was up there running with the leaders in the beginning. But no points for the Frenchman this time around in race one. Up front though, it was Zak Osborne who was chasing down Gauthier Paulin and number 64, Kunsith Vonsana, on the SRS Honda, having his best ride of the season so far and also his best career finish in second position. But at the finish, it was Gauthier Paulin's Bud Kawasaki who stormed to victory. Vonsana was second, Osborne was third. MX1, race one, and it was a great start for number 222 on the Red Bull Ducati Yamaha, Tony Cairoli. But he found himself being pushed all the way by number 5 on the Red Bull KTM, Max Nagel. But Nagel ran wide, allowing Tony Cairoli up the inside. Riding with a hand injury, Nagel started to fade backwards. But all eyes were on Steve Ramon as him and Ken Dodika, his teammate on the Red Bull Tekka Suzukis, started to fight their way through the pack. Soon they caught Max Nagel in third position, and they brought David Philipparts on the Monster Energy Yamaha with him as well. Max had no fight, and had to allow Philipparts up the inside. Kevin Strybos was having the best ride of his career so far in the MX1 in 2009, but he was no match for Steve Ramon, who burst into second position, demoting his fellow countryman Strybos down to third. Up front though, Tony Cairoli picked his way through the back markers and the traffic and rode a steady race to come out victorious in race one. Ramon would finish second, Strybos third, Philipparts and Dodika rounded out the top 5. MX2 race 2, and it was another great start for Zak Osborne. And it was also Marvin Musquin, Stephen Frossard, Marcus Schiffer and Stephen Sword were all up there challenging going into turn 2. But it was Osborne the American as he almost went down coming into turn 2 but managed to keep it upright. He led, and as the sun came out, all eyes were on what was happening behind him. Sean Simpson had a great start but then made a mistake and fell out of second position when Musquin moved him aside to inherit that spot. Marcus Schiffer was having a good ride, but then found himself being passed by the on-form, hard-charging 183 of Stephen Frossard, who also found his way past Sean Simpson. Frossard was now in third. Up front, Musquin was challenging for the lead and passed Zak Osborne. And it looked like Musquin would disappear at the front. And Frossard may even take over second position. But there was more drama. Gauthier Paulin, who had a difficult start going through turn 1, was having to fight his way through the pack. Zak Osborne was fighting back for the lead. And out of the final turn, Osborne hung on to take his first win of the season and the Grand Prix ahead of Musquin and Gauthier Paulin. Osborne won the GP, Paulin second, Musquin third. MX1, race 2, and another great start for the 222 of Tony Cairoli. Gareth Swanepoel on the factory Kawasaki, number 17, was left on the line. Kevin Strybos, number 100 on the Martin Honda, had another great start and was challenging Cairoli and David Philipparts on the Monster Energy Yamaha. But then the Martin Honda rider grabbed a handful of front brake and went down, his bike being run over by the number 25 LS Motors Honda of Clement de Sal. Up front, Philipparts had found a way past Tony Cairoli, and it looked like these two would disappear. But then came the two Suzukis of Ken Dodika and Steve Ramon. So the two Italians of Philipparts and Cairoli had to get a move on because Steve Ramon was closing and closing fast. It was a three-way battle for the lead. Towards the end of the race, Philipparts had to ride defensive. He was trying to keep Tony Cairoli at bay, but it wasn't to no avail because in the end, it was Cairoli who found a way through with about 3 laps to go. In the end, he hung on to take his second win and the Grand Prix victory